I'm probably going to be covered in glitter for the next 7 years and I want to fight somebody about it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If not back, then just welcome. Today I'm going to be reviewing some products from the Fenty Beauty Galaxy collection. So if you aren't familiar, in the collection there's an eyeshadow palette, lipsticks, lip glosses, and eyeliners. There's also a brush that's supposed to be specially formulated to use with the glitter shadows, as well as to turn the eyeliner from matte or satin into a glitter liner. The things that I purchased were the eyeshadow palette and 2 of the lip glosses. The lip glosses that I got are Spacesuit and Astronauty. Everything in this collection has some sort of glitter or frost or duochrome feature to it. The lip glosses have a duochrome, whereas I felt the lipsticks have more of a frost to them. So this one is Spacesuit. This particular duochrome is my favorite duochrome. Things that are kind of coral with a gold reflect. That's how it bounces off of my hand. When I put it on my lips, it turns more bubble gummy. It's not as gold as I wanted it to be, but that makes sense because my lips are a different color than what they are on my hand, and I didn't think to swatch them on my lips in the store. The other lip gloss that I got is Astronauty. On my lips, it has just the most beautiful, rich, deep, like burgundy with this particular gloss. I love to wear this gloss just on its own. Alright, so here we have the inside of the palette. As you can see, they're arranged in a kind of like argyle type situation. It makes me think of like argyle socks or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and do some finger swatches now. Normally when I do finger swatches, I don't put down any sort of base. This time I am. I'm going to be putting down a skin tone eyeshadow primer. This one is the LA Girl Pro Primer in the shade Nude. So I accidentally skipped over this patch here. So I'm just gonna rewind a little bit and kind of mess up the flow. The only color I'm not crazy about is this blue here. And it's not that it's a bad blue, it's just that it's boring in comparison to everything else in the palette. All the other shades have some sort of intense glitter or duochrome situation going on, but this blue here is just kind of like a metallic blue, which I feel like is lackluster in the palette. I think I would have enjoyed it more if she would have thrown some sort of silver glitter in there, or some sort of like light green glitter or something to make it more dynamic. It just kind of falls flat in comparison to all the other shades in the palette. So there are all of the swatches awkwardly on my hand, sliding away. Initially I wanted to do a first impressions video, but honestly, upon first impressions, I was more impressed with the shadow swatches. I was more impressed with the swatches than I was the performance of the eyeshadows. So I wanted to play with it for a little bit and figure out how I was going to make it work before I came on and gave my review, because my first impressions were not that grand, not gonna lie. In the pan, aesthetically, and how it swatched on my arm, all of that was beautiful. But actually trying to use them in application on my lid, I was like, I may have just wasted $59. I will say any sort of negativity that I have toward this palette, I don't think I'm going to necessarily blame on the palette. It's going to more so be of a user error kind of bell curve, because I don't do glitter shadows. I was watching Makeup Struggles talk about what was it, her Bad Bitch fall video, was talking about how you would have to use a glitter glue with these shadows. Me being hard-headed, I'm like, I'm not gonna do a glitter glue. So how I make these work for me is I go in with a base cream or liquid eyeshadow. So I just put those all over my lid, and then I would go in on top of it with shades from the Fenty palette, using my finger, using primarily my finger. In some instances I did use a flat shader brush, but that was just to pack on some more glitter in a more concentrated area to get a more specific shape. I don't really recommend that. I got hella fallout when I did it that way. It was much easier, much more impactful when I use my finger. Now let's go over the pros and cons of the palette real quick. Let's start with the pros. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful collector's item if you are into that sort of thing. I'm into that sort of thing. I mount all of my beautiful eyeshadow palettes on my wall like works of art, so I really appreciate it when there's a palette that is super gorgeous because it goes on my wall. It's like a new art piece. The way the shadows are laid out, I love this sort of like color scheme that they have going on here. On camera, it's not really picking up as all the different colors that it is, but the way that the shadows are laid out, even though they are kind of scattered amongst the reds and the greens and the pinks and the neutrals, I'm using that term lightly, it's put together in a way that isn't distracting to the eye. I'm also a fan of the number of shades that you get. You get 14 different glitters in this palette. That's all the glitter that I will ever need in my entire life, I promise you. And if you are like me and you aren't a glitter fanatic, but you do want a glitter thing in your collection, highly recommend it. I also like the quality of the glitter. It's very shiny. It's very glittery. It's very much giving you that galaxy sparkle that the collection promised. The cons to this palette, number one con is the fallout. I did 3 different looks using this palette. They aren't going to be on this video. They'll be up on my Instagram, so go follow me on my Instagram if you're interested in seeing the different looks that I created with this palette. I'm the kind of person, I do my face makeup first, and then if I'm doing multiple looks, like I just clean off my eye with some coconut oil and like a makeup wipe, and then continue. If I have to like put concealer back on under my eye or something like that, that's fine, but I don't generally have to like wash my whole face. And I feel like you'll be able to tell which look I did first, second, and third by the amount of glitter that I have on my face from the other 2 looks that came before it. It's a ridiculous amount of fallout. Now, I don't know if that would change if you use those specialized brush and if you use a glitter glue. It's a lot of glitter fallout is the moral of the story. Another minor con for me is, as much as I love this packaging, fingerprints abound. Like I said, how I store my makeup, I'm going to put it up on my wall so I won't have to really worry about fingerprints. But if I were to just like have this in a drawer, if I want to take this to travel with me someday, LOL, I will never travel with this palette. It's just kind of a hassle in that regard, but that's minor. That's just a me thing. Another con is that this is not a standalone palette. Alright, you might be able to use it by itself, but it will be really, really hard to create a complete look out of this one palette. And I get it, it's a special release, it's a holiday limited edition release, and you aren't necessarily supposed to use it as just like your everyday kind of staple thing. But at the end of the day, it is $60, and that's a lot of money to spend on an eyeshadow palette that you can't use on its own. That's a lot of money for an accessory palette. Is the value worth it? To me, yes, you're getting 14 glitter shadows. If you look at glitter shadows individually priced, even from like the drugstore end of things, NYX comes to mind, and a single NYX glitter like glitter is still something like between the $5 and $8. When you break it down like that, it's kind of worth it, but the upfront cost of $60 is a lot of money for a supplement palette. And as much as I think that this is kind of like shady or whatever, just wait a few months. There will be a dupe out for it because that's the way the makeup world works. Something comes out, if it's really popular, a dupe will follow. So there's that. So the bottom line, do I think that you should buy this palette? That's kind of up in the air. If you are a makeup collector, if you are a Rihanna fan, then I would say, yeah, it's limited edition. If you're looking to build a makeup kit, if you're looking to build your own personal makeup collection, or if you're just getting into makeup, then I don't necessarily think that this is something that you have to go out and get. It's a fun piece. It's a fun addition to my collection. I will never buy another glitter eyeshadow palette ever again. I was eyeing the Moon Dust palette real hard for a little bit. I'm glad I got this instead because you get more colors. Overall rating out of 10, I probably have to give it a 6 out of 10 just because I don't like how supplementary it is. I wish that there was something about it that will make it stand out on its own, but it really, really needs other products. Now, as far as the lip glosses, that's a little different. These are the only glitter duochrome type lip glosses that I have seen that are this opaque, that can stand on their own, that don't need anything else underneath them. Even though these are so opaque, they don't feel any less comfortable than the Fenty Bomb Gloss Glow, Fenty Glow Bomb Gloss, the original gloss that came out with the first launch. I absolutely love that lip gloss. It's my favorite lip gloss. It's not very sticky. It's not very heavy. It doesn't do that gross thing where you have like an inner rim on your lip. It doesn't bleed. And these do the same thing, which I was not expecting them to do considering that they're like glittery and duochromy and toppers and na. But they're actually really, really nice. The lip glosses retail for $19, so like pricey for a lip gloss, absolutely, but no other glitter lip gloss comes to mind that actually can compete with this. So if you have any suggestions that are more price conscious, leave them in the comment section down below. I am very interested in upping my lip gloss game. The reason why I didn't get the eyeliner is because I don't really wear liquid eyeliner, so I didn't want to buy something that I just knew that I wasn't going to ever use. And the reason why I didn't get the lipsticks is because I don't do frosted lipstick. Like, I know it's coming back and I know that they're trying to make a thing, but to me, fetch will never happen. Frosted lipstick should have stayed in the 80s and the 90s where it belongs. Frosted lipstick should stay on the lips of grandmothers in churches where it belongs. I can't get with it. It just gives me like fashion fair grandma on Easter Sunday teas, and I just can't. I can't get with it. That's it. That's my quick review on the Fenty Galaxy collection, or at least part of the Fenty Galaxy collection. Overall, it's a very, very fun and festive holiday release. It's probably the only holiday release that I'm going to be investing in this year. Everything else looks kind of boring. All right, that is more than enough rambling from me. Make sure you go over to my Instagram and check out the looks that I have posted over there. As always, thank you so, so very much for watching. Until next time, bye guys. You're cute.
Thanks.
You're welcome.